It's only once in a while that you see someone whose electricity and presence matches yours at that moment. And then, it's usually a stranger. It was 3 or 4 years ago. I was walking on Sunset Boulevard towards Vermont. When a block away, I noticed a figure moving towards me. There was something in her carriage and in her walk which attracted me. As we came closer, the intensity increased. Suddenly, I knew her entire history. She had lived all her life with men who had never really known her. As she approached, I became almost dizzy. I could hear her footsteps as she approached. I looked in her face. She was as beautiful as I imagined she would be. As we passed, our eyes fucked and loved and sang to each other. And then she moved past me. I walked on, not looking back. And when I looked back, she was gone. What is one to do in a world where almost everything worth having or doing is impossible? I went into a coffee shop and decided if I ever saw her again somehow, I'd say, listen, please, I just must talk to you. I never saw her again. I never will. The iron in our society silences a man's heart. And when you silence a man's heart, you leave him, finally, with only a cock. And now one of mine is called Megan Rocks. This is from when I first started writing and I was trying really, really hard to be Charles Bukowski. We debated whether music or film was more important. I told her in the grand scheme of things, neither was eminent. Literature is where it's at. She smiled, the way stars smile at the gutter, and explained why I was wrong. I took another swig from the bottle, glanced at her body, and agreed. Arguing with a beautiful woman is even more futile than falling in love with one. Plus, it takes longer. Say thank you to Colin for inviting me to read tonight and to the Belfast Film Festival for including the Bukowski film and a little bit of poetry in their festival this year. This book's called Directions. Walk south of 7th Avenue and make a left on 31st Street. So read the pencil scrawled directions I found on a crumpled piece of paper in my boot-cut denim pocket. They have clearly been written during my 7-day escapade in New York City. But I couldn't remember now what location I'd been attempting to get to or why it had been so important to note the route. I hope I reached that destination and that it was everything I wanted it to be, because usually in life, the best things are found without direction. And one final poem. Anyone who's maybe seen voice diversion shows or my show in the past couple of years maybe saw the poem that I do where I do impressions of people. Well, not of people, like my influences and inspirations, and one of those people is Charles Bukowski. So we'll do that little verse and then go into the poem. Hopefully you know what Charles Bukowski sounds like. This is going to die on its own. Look at me, I'm Charles Bukowski. I write poems on drinking, gambling and screwing, but mainly drinking. Drinking and drinking. Tenerife Blues. In Tenerife, we had our pockets picked by a street hustler outside Busby's bar, named after the former Manchester United manager. It was no wonder then that we were rude to the hookers who paved the way home, particularly as they were asking €40 for a blowjob, when I already masturbated that day in my room for free.